We are Rogue Media Sports.
Yo, welcome to Keep Stacking with Riley. Thank y'all for joining me today. Let's get into the episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thank y'all for joining the first ever Keep Stacking podcast. My name is Riley Lambert. Essentially, I'd assume if you're listening to this pretty soon after the release that you know me and about the injury, but what I wanted to do today, just give an outlook of what happened, how the accident happened, when it happened, what's going on now, how I'm recovering. So that's why I brought my mom with me today. She's been with me every step of the way, certainly. Feel truly blessed to have her with me. We've grown together. We've done a lot of crying, a lot of laughing together, but I couldn't have asked for a better mom. So I'm very grateful and thankful and blessed to have her. So yeah, the goal is to give a full story of everything that's happened up to now. Concisely, we can go talk for hours, but I'd like to do it in 30 minutes to an hour. But that's today. But going forward, what I want this show to be is more, not all about me and the injury, but more so I want to have guests in every show, learn from them, gain insight, maybe get motivated from them, all the above. So I think the show will grow as it goes as well. So we'll just see how it plays out. But Mom, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I feel very privileged.
Let's go. So I'll start off with the first question from Mom. What do you remember about the injury date? I got injured on March 20th, but what was that day like for you? Like, break it down for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are approaching almost 6 months to the date, which is when I say that out loud, it feels like just yesterday, and it also feels like forever. So
yeah, 2 to 3 years. Yeah.
March 20th was a Wednesday, and I was getting ready for bed. It was like 10:30 at night. Got a phone call from your friend Jamie, and I didn't answer it because I thought maybe it was a butt dial. And then he called right back, and I told Alan, I was like, should I answer his call? And he's like, yeah. So I answered the call, and he just said, Miss Ray, this is Jamie. We think Riley's been in an accident, and you should come to Fort Worth. And I just said, well, you think he's been in an accident, or you know he's been in an accident? And he's like, no, we're pretty sure it was him. And so he explained to me that you had, the way they found out that it was you as you were, when you were leaving your place, and I'll ask you what you remember about that later, but when you were leaving the golf course that night, that you were on the phone with a friend, and thankfully they were able to locate you after the phone call dropped.
Through Find My Location.
Yeah, through Find My Location. And then another local friend drove out to the site, and by the time they got there, they saw the ambulance leaving with you. But yes, and then I called your cell phone, and I'm like, okay, this is what we do. So I got in the car with just whatever I was wearing, and headed to Fort Worth, called your dad, let him know. And that was about a 2-hour drive, and called the hospital. So something interesting, when you're a 24-year-old adult already, don't really have a dependent or, a significant other. Yeah. I had to prove that I was your mom.
How'd you do that?
Driving down to, I didn't. I just said, you know what? I'm driving far away. Like, I need to know how he is. And so all your friends were in their waiting room there, and they were texting me and letting me know, I think, what they had assumed and what they had heard based off of what the nurse at the time was kind of telling them. But finally got a phone call back from
Laskin.
Yep, from Dr. Laskin. She was your intake trauma surgeon that night. And she thankfully shared that, really what had happened, or not what had happened, but your current state, which was, she was like, it appears he was delivered, into the ER with a degloved scalp, which is to a lot of people.
Yeah, what
Imagine
you'd
someone's,
picture, yeah.
someone scalping your head.
Like as an Indian, Cowboys, Indians, yeah.
Yeah. That is how you were found in the field. So intubated in the field. And by the time you'd gotten there, and thankfully it sounds like you were really close to this place. And Baylor Scott and White Grapevine Trauma Center is just the most amazing place.
And it happened to be ranked like the best trauma center in the state or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It is totally just by the grace of God that they were so close. And you anyway, deliver with a degloved scalp. Your jaw, she said, was completely broken in 4 places. Your mandible jaw was completely broken. In fact, she told me that you had lost all your teeth. They couldn't find your teeth. Appeared you had a broken rib. Your vertebrae was broken, fractured spine. They could already tell you had no response or movement below the waist and legs, and they could tell you were able to kind of squeeze and have some movement in your hands. They said you'd been given like 6 blood transfusions already. And ultimately I just remember saying, wow, he's in really bad shape. And she said, he's fighting for his life. And I just remember telling her, you know what, if he passes away or if he dies before I get there, because I have a long car ride, like I want you to tell me. I don't want to walk in and not know that.
Yeah.
And she was like, do you need to pull over? I'm like, no, it sounds like I need to get there pretty quickly. So talk to your dad the rest of the way. People always ask me like what I did on the car ride. I didn't listen to music. I didn't listen to podcast.
I got there as quick as you could.
Yeah. I remember asking God to spare your life.
Yeah.
That was it. So get to the hospital and take a little 20-minute breather before I walk in. They said they'd let me know that a nurse would come in and walk me through that place. So I remember just room, oh my goodness, why can't I think of the room? 1436.
I thought it was 02. I don't know.
No.
We've been in lots of rooms, so don't feel bad about that.
No. This room has so much meaning. I'm like, I'm in room 1436.
I think it's 14 something. I don't know. We'll get that for sure. But,
how did I forget this room? I've written chapters about it. Anyway, that was the room that you were in when I got there, and Dr. Laskin was standing in the doorway along with all the nurses that stood by our side every day. Rhonda was not there. No, Dee was there. Lee was there. But no. And I just remember asking, I was like, can I go up to him? Can I touch him? And we've showed him some pictures from that day.
Yeah.
But she said, yeah. And so when I went to look at you and talk to you, I just said, hey, Riley, Mom's here. Like I said, I'm here. Everything's going to be okay. And you were kind of like, you kind of squeezed your eyes. And I was touching you. And they said that was the most movement they had seen you have since you'd been delivered there. So that was the start. Waited for your dad to get there. He had a very long drive, a 4-hour drive. All your friends were in the waiting room. You had so many friends.
All the people that had my location, which were all my best friends, yeah.
Carson, Jamie, Hayden, Clayton, and the girls. And they stayed till about 4 a.m.
Who was there? Tyler and Courtney?
Tyler and Courtney, yes.
Those are my 2 coworkers.
Yep.
Love you guys.
They waited, I think, as long as they could. So, and then they took you back for a 4-hour MRI. And at that moment, I was like, what am I going to tell the family? So.
Yeah, and lots of family too. I mean, you probably had like upwards of 15, 20 members to tell.
Yes.
And then they had 15 to 20 tell each of them themselves. So, yeah.
Yeah. So sat there and like, how do I say this? What do I say? So, and I waited, even my work, all the people. So waited till about 5:30 a.m. and shared all that I knew was just, you broke your vertebrae 6, 7, and T1.
Yeah.
Thankfully your teeth were in there.
Yeah, they ended up finding my teeth in my gums or something.
They found all your teeth. Yes, Dr. Pace found all your teeth. You had to sit like that for like 4 days with your mouth just like held together.
They already had the wires in there?
No, so So Wednesday night, they basically just kind of like taped you up, so to speak, and had you in braces. But your jaw surgery wasn't able to happen until after they did the vertebrae surgery, and the vertebrae surgery was crucial to save your life.
Yeah.
And to find out, about paralysis. So surgery was done Thursday. And then they had to wait a day for swelling to go down because they had to take your brace off your neck to repair your jaw.
Yeah.
And so
Tough combo of surgeries back to back. Golly, sorry.
Yeah. And your jaw surgery was supposed to be 2 to 3 hours. It ended up being like 5 hours. They said it was like one of the hardest surgeries that
and
they've
still
ever been
thought,
in.
before the jaw surgery, they thought I didn't have my teeth still. They found them in the jaw surgery, right?
Yes. Your jaw was so mangled and just swollen. And he rebuilt your jaw. You have like 4 metal plates around your chin.
Yep.
And got some good hardware in there.
Yep.
Your
Some
mouth
of which
was
you can still see.
Yep. Your mouth was wired shut for the duration of ICU, 30 plus days. You lost 46 pounds. I'm sharing this for those of you because he doesn't remember a lot of it, even though it's documented. And he was definitely, you were always aware, of that day because they were asking you to do different things. But all the drugs and sedations and
that kind of canceled out a lot of my whole stay at the ICU. I feel like I remember like the last week or the last couple of days, and I remember certain people coming to visit me. Like Tyler Courtney came, my boys came one day. I remember those instances, but I don't remember a lot of small stuff about the ICU at all.
Yeah. It was after the jaw surgery, you suffered this injury, a C4. So your prognosis is an incomplete C4 spinal cord injury.
Yeah.
And one of the main things, if anyone looks this up, is it affects your respiratory system.
Yeah,
and we
sure.
had no idea. So the impact of the crash alone, you hit a tree, done, and thankfully you don't remember that, but they think being unbuckled, going approximately 60 miles an hour, just the impact of, and you're driving a Dodge Ram, of the crash alone, what it did to your body. And then the surgery, the vertebrae surgery, is a barbaric surgery. They like open your bones, open your muscles.
Yeah.
And then learning, your muscle, like the atrophy, learning to breathe again on your own, being intubated, and then you were nasally intubated, and then you were trached. So you suffered what they call, your oxygen level was you were always fighting hard to breathe.
Yeah.
And which resulted in you coding 2 times. And
that's
so
they put the pacemaker in.
Yeah, they had to, we went through like 12 bronchoscopies where they put this cool little microscopic video in and suck out all the mucus out of your lungs.
Through my mouth into my lungs.
And sometimes it was through the nose, the tube through the nose. It was wherever they could get to your mucus plugs in your lungs, because what would happen is every time if you kind of move or anything, the mucus plugs would pop and your lungs would start to fill with fluid and your oxygen would start to desat, which would make your heart rate drop. So, but it was crazy because your lungs were so clear most of the time, the fluid was like down deep.
Yeah.
And so one thing when you're laying in a bed and not moving, your lungs do not naturally know how to filter fluid. How we learned, just sitting here, like naturally swallowing. So it resulted in all kinds of things, not be able to cough and swallow, those kind of things.
I'd say the breathing and coughing has easily been the hardest part of this whole thing.
It has.
Like it's gotten better the past 2 to 3 weeks, and that's just, what month is it? I'm in September now, like beginning of August when I was like starting to feel like I could breathe again normally. Still less. Like I can tell my lungs can't totally fill up like they used to, but I can get enough breath to breathe normally. So
yeah, you went through had to do 4 to 6 breathing treatments constantly in ICU.
Yeah.
And that was definitely scary. And then from there, you were transported by jet to Houston. So and that was some great Medicare flight nurses.
Those guys were awesome. The nurses were awesome. But
so scary. But before we leave ICU at Grapevine, you made Dr. Balo, Rhonda. I don't know if you want to just share like that that was like your first time to recognize, wow, this is like what medical professionals do. Now, we we stayed there 35 days. I stayed in that room with you day and night. I mean, they became.
The relationships I made with them are, I don't know, I'll never forget them, of course. I mean,
One thing they shared with me, apparently we were the first family to stay in ICU that long and never leave you.
yeah. Always have a
And
family member
since
in the room.
COVID, yeah, they hadn't had someone
Which was
stay.
you all the time, yeah.
And they said, okay, this kid must be kind of special if, it has a waiting room full of 50 people out there
Yeah.
on the weekends and spent Easter there, and your coach is coming. So many people. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so, and they recommended Tier Memorial Hermann, which is the number one place in the state of Texas, number 4 in the country. I did ask where the number 1 in the country was.
Yeah.
But it is known for their neuro rehab and like spinal cord rehab.
Yep.
And it would have been like a 7-hour ambulance
Car ride,
ride.
yeah.
No ambulance ride. I was like, we are not doing that. Your
terrible.
breathing was way too. You were still possibly having to get bronched. So
Yeah. We
With
talked
the-
about getting a bronch like 2 days before I left.
yeah.
Or they kind of wanted to do one, but I didn't want to do one. Yeah.
No. So thankfully, with the help of friends, we've got an army of friends that called. They're like, hey, you can apply for this. I still don't know how.
So and so.
Yeah. I
Care
mean,
Foundation. Yeah.
how a $40,000 plane ride is taken care of, but
That's a crazy blessing. Yeah.
that was a special moment. And then checked into Tier Memorial Hermann in the medical center in Houston and stayed there for another 35 days. And, I think, and you could agree, and I'd ask you this, I think we went there really not knowing what to expect, not knowing what rehabilitation looks like.
The only thing I was expecting was all the nurses and doctors at Baylor Scott and White Grapevine were like, this is going to be so hard for you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just always talking about how the difficulty level. And once I got there, I mean, I think me being an athlete has helped with like perseverance and I don't know, doing hard physical activity. But I don't know. I feel like this next time we go to Tier will be harder than the first time.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I know for me, I remember the night I walked in there, I just cried. I was like, I don't want to stay here.
you got attached to the Baylor Scott and White people.
Yeah. Well, you go from like having all these nurses and doctors there every second of the day
Yeah.
and being able to get them to where now we're an inpatient, we're sharing a room.
Oh, yeah. That was kind of tough.
They're not in the sense of urgency had changed, but
It was
that's
a rehab
okay.
center, not
Yeah,
an
we weren't in
ICU, yeah.
ICU anymore. And then I saw all the broken people.
Yeah, that
And
was tough.
that for me, just seeing,
Some more broken than me.
yes. And like thankfully you had a brain injury, but you've never had symptoms of a brain injury.
Yeah.
And so,
Like memory loss or being able to speak. And
yeah, not being able to speak, all those things. So, thankfully, that has been on your side. I think sometimes I'd ask you, like, I think it's been great. And then sometimes it's probably been like, wow, what if he didn't know so much,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was that I was just like, oh, I don't want to stay here. But, you met the best OTPT. I would say, and for a lot of people, I think a lot of our family and friends even thought, hey, you're going to go there and learn to walk.
I kind of thought that going in there. Or like I thought I could leave like being able to transfer out of a chair into a bed or like I expected way more progress than what I left with going in there.
Yeah.
We all did.
We all did. And what I finally shared with everyone is like, how is he getting better? That was always a question, is like, is he getting better? And I'm like, what does better mean? Like, what does better mean to you? Because what it means to me is like totally different.
Yeah.
The fact that he can sit up and not pass out or die from like not coughing or coughing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're getting better. We can breathe on his own sitting up.
That part's definitely frustrating at times for me too. Because I'll have my friends and former teammates ask about recovery process and how it's going. And I want to say, like, I know it's going well, but to them as an outsider, they wouldn't notice that anything's changed from the last time they saw me a few weeks ago. So yeah, that's been difficult at times.
Well, and this injury, the spinal cord world it's so unique, and it's just not something that just your everyday person is just going to go and like research. And I've said this before, had this been a muscular injury or an orthopedic injury where
Yeah.
you broke bones. I mean, you didn't, a nerve injury where we need your blood to flow from your brain to your spine. That's what we need.
Yeah.
Okay, well, can someone make that happen?
I don't think so.
I mean, it's this whole I don't even call it a new world. It's just a world of its own. And the fact that your injury is incomplete, we've been told that the skies are the limit.
Yeah.
With an injury like this, you have like a 12-month window. They call it the golden window. I've tried not to put too much.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like maybe you'll know by the end of 12 to 18 months what life will look like. But we know that there are so many other therapies and things outside of that. But like, right now you are 75 to 100% dependent on someone to take care of you.
Yeah. Pretty much 100. I mean, I can feed myself, but I need somebody to go get the food and get it ready for me.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that the other night. Yeah.
Yeah. You need someone to hand you your cup of water.
Yeah.
You need someone to.
I can grab it sometimes. If it's in the right spot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, to put water in it even.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
To get you dressed or, taking care of all the things that a lot of times, I mean, I know we've all taken for granted, get you in and out of the bed. I know you and I talk about a lot of times, like you're either in the wheelchair or the bed.
Yeah. Sucks.
And that's that part. I hate that for you. Like that's just still feeling sometimes captive.
Yeah.
I know, mentally. And I would say mentally, I'm not even in your body and just feeling what I see. And,
Yeah.
I think I've told you sometimes like, oh, I think I'm still just holding my breath. And, we've talked about this, like
Yeah.
adaptability is big and accepting where we are is big, but not giving up where we want to be.
Yeah.
So it's those kind of things. But I mean, at Tier, we made a lot of progress. Progress means they just taught us how to take care of you as
Yeah,
is.
pretty much.
Really and truly how to take care of you.
Strength and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Working on strength has been huge.
Mm-hmm.
But learning how to take care of you and you learning eventually how to take care of yourself.
Right.
And really pursuing independence again for you.
Yeah.
And dignity and just all the things.
I think the process of this whole thing, people don't understand how long it takes. Like one of my friends who I've met through this, Travis Gilmore, he just moved into his own apartment, living on his own in a wheelchair 4 years after his injury. So, I mean, that's kind of like a good timetable of like a very capable young guy, how long it would take to live independently again. I'm going to try to beat him. But,
you will. And you definitely will. I mean, you've been gone from the house 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you graduated high school, went in, college, played college baseball. We're on I'll let you share that, but on your way, like living in your own apartment, now back at home, which I know is the last place you want to be full time, all times.
Yeah.
And you have to be around people all the time.
Most of the time, older people, not my friends.
Yeah. Because you need us to
Right,
take
I
care
totally
of you. And I know you missed your time by yourself. But that in itself, I would say, has been an adjustment for everybody.
Yeah.
It's definitely, one thing I've said, I didn't think about how many people it's really affected. And it's affected a lot of people.
Yeah. Sometimes I think that was the point of all this. It was supposed to affect a lot of people too.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I think that's the truth. So, okay. Anyway, we went to Tier for 35 days. Then now I've been home since.
We got home May 29th. And for people that are curious, like we turned the game room into a medical room. He has a medical bed. We have a Hoyer lift. We're going to raise funds, have a fundraiser eventually and get a wheelchair accessible shower, those kind of things. But we have some home health care that comes, but ultimately it's us. It's me helping and, brothers and sisters and dads and grandparents. And you go to outpatient 2 days a week at Baylor Scott and White here. We have dear friend Claudia who comes into the house and helps you.
Love you, Claudia.
Our house now has all kinds of equipment, a rickshaw. You just got your FES bike, which is really cool, where you can wheel up your wheelchair, stem your legs.
Stems and cycles my legs for me, good for my cardiovascular, metabolic health, all that. So I can't move my legs, of course, but it simulates leg movement, good for just my overall health.
Yeah, and hoping your muscle memory comes
It
back.
could also, do that as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's where we are today. And I think that, I'll just ask you, because we talked about like you being back home, like what was before the injury?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, wait, day of injury. What do you remember about that day?
Okay, yeah.
And where were you? What were you doing?
So yeah, that day, it was a work-related event. I was on a golf outing with a potential client. My whole focus that day was to impress this client, woo this client, make this guy like me. So looking back on it, I really didn't have like much of a plan other than that. So I woke up, I took my buddy Hayden to work that day. He was my last guy to see me like normal. Took him to work pretty early, like 8. We went to golf, I think at 11 a.m. So I got to the course like 10, pay for the round. Warming up, we golfed 11 to 4. We stayed for drinks and food after. I think I lost, my memory's totally blanking, like 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And I crashed at 9:15. But yeah, like I said, I think had I had more of a plan going into that day, I feel like all of this could have been avoided. But I was just so distracted that was my first client engagement event. That was the first time I was like going to try to make a sale for the company, like try to like be an adult in a sense. But that's what I remember from that day, honestly. I think, let me think. Yeah, I know I was on the phone with my friend Alexa at the time. That definitely has nothing to do with why I crashed, I don't think. I don't remember, but...
It was dark. You were leaving.
Yeah.
You never golfed there. It was an unfamiliar exit.
That curve, I've been told, is kind of vicious.
Yeah, they didn't have any like kind of reflectors type slow down. We've looked at that place, and you want to go back to the crash site.
Yeah,
we
for
haven't
sure.
taken you there, but it definitely is deceiving. If you look, it looks like you're on a straightaway exiting, and when it curves, it is the most massive tree probably in the whole property.
I had
crazy.
it dead straight on my truck too. Had I like clipped it, or I probably wouldn't have stayed in the truck.
Yeah.
That was another thing too. I stayed in the truck after the crash.
Yeah, you were found sitting in your driver's seat in the truck. So, yeah. So life before the injury.
Yeah.
What was a day in the life of Riley?
So I was a pretty young adult. I wouldn't say lost, but I was trying to find what the next thing I was going to do was, or what my purpose was going to be, or what I was going to do for work, who essentially I was going to be as a man. I had taken this job. It was with Metasource. Essentially, my friend from high school referred me. It had a sweet gig where like you could live in Indianapolis 6 months for training, rent free, and get paid. So I was like, this is great. If I don't like it, I'll just leave. And if I like it, I'll have 6 months of income under my belt. So that was essentially why I was working this job. And so after the training in Indianapolis, that was June 2023 to December 2023. So I moved to Dallas late December. I had been there for 4 to 5 months before the accident. One thing I really remember before the accident, I spent a lot of time in prayer just about what I wanted to do, because I knew this job, I wasn't going to be there forever. That's not what I wanted to do. I kind of had a more entrepreneur mindset. Want to own my own business one day. I had even started pressure washing around the Dallas area. I had done 2 houses. I was going to do my mom's house that weekend and like start videoing
We missed
it.
out on your pressure washing business.
It was kind of, I liked
Yeah.
it. It was kind of satisfying.
Yeah.
But
You had just applied for pilot school.
yeah, my whole idea was like to get the pressure washing thing off the ground so I could quit this job and then have income from pressure washing and like give me more time to figure out what I wanted to do.
You were definitely planning. You were planning for the future.
I did have a plan. But one thing I remember like throughout my walk with Christ and what I wanted to do as far as that was, I was praying one day and I was just recognizing like how easy my life had been for 24 years. And I remember nothing ever really came at a challenge. I mean, sometimes college baseball wasn't challenging because I didn't play that much, or those are just dumb problems. So those aren't real problems. Everything came pretty easy. I didn't even have to work that hard to play college baseball. And then I don't know. So
everything always has come easy to you. Everything you've touched has turned to gold, whatever it is.
I think so I was praying about that, and I was like, everybody that I've seen have success in their life has gone through something way hard and grown from that. So I don't think I specifically prayed for something hard or something like this to happen to me. I hope not. That's not what happened. But every day I'm thinking, like, I don't think I asked for this, but like, is this part of the plan, or is like predestination and
you were talking about
what's the other one?
Free will.
Free will. I totally believe in free will, and we have free will, but I can't try to figure that out as a human. No way. So I just keep falling back on trust. Like I cannot try to figure this out or come to a conclusion. I just need to trust in Christ, and like I know whatever. If I did this on my own, it's fine. There's still a plan for me, and there's still somewhere I can make this positive for others, for myself, and so yeah.
And you were journaling before that.
Yeah, I think I was much. You read my journal,
just a
which
little
is
bit.
fine. What's some stuff you remember from that? Because I was journaling very sporadically. Like I never journaled every day. I journaled probably like monthly, honestly.
I mean, what I took away from it, especially, as a mother, and you started journaling while you were playing baseball, and during that time,
yeah, that was a pretty emotional time.
Yeah, it was like your junior year. You had a great year.
Mm-hmm. I think I started every game my junior year.
Yeah, I started every game, and you were expecting to start your senior year, and you worked your butt off like everyone else. Mm-hmm. And that year did not start the way you thought it was going to start. Yeah. It didn't end the way you wanted. Do you know what I thought the worst thing was in your life had happened?
What? Go ahead. What?
Your last home game at UT Tyler.
The senior day?
No, it was whatever the last home game was. Because it was just me and Collins there, and I think Papa and Grammy. And it was the last Sunday night game. You got in for your one at bat or whatever, Or
did I go in on defense or something?
You went in on defense, but then it was just your only at bat of the game. You struck out. And
that was terrible.
And it was, and you and I both knew, like, that was your last ever at bat.
I knew it was going to be my last at bat, yeah.
And that's what you told me. And so.
Because we're about to start postseason and stuff, so yeah.
Yeah.
We had a moment there after the game too.
We did. You ran off the field at the end of the game, and Collins and I were I don't know why we were standing on the sidelines right then.
Yeah.
And or outside the gate, and you walked out of the gate, and you never do this, never. You normally go get your stuff, and you just came up to me, and I thought you were coming to give me like your your bags or something. And you're like, Mom, just hug me. And you put your head in my shoulder and just bawled.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, this is not how I want him to end his baseball. This is what we've worked for your whole life. Yeah. And I was like, this is how it's going to happen. And you, to me, I thought that was the worst thing you could have ever. I'm like, God, how could you let him go through something like that? He's worked so hard. And boy, was I wrong.
Yeah. It was kind of an ugly punch out too. I wish I wouldn't. I think I did like 3 pitches.
Oh, yeah. But that was we're talking about journaling, sorry. Yeah. You apparently definitely were journaling a lot. And what I'm saying is like I could tell you were searching. Mm-hmm. For like whatever's next. And I've never been a collegiate athlete, but I've heard that mean, you're used to going to practice, being told what to do,
Yeah.
where to be, showing up for somebody, accountability, working for your team, and then that's, now you got to go in the real world. What does that look like? You're going to be, not with your best buddies all the time. I could just tell from the journal that you were just searching for more, and you were also asking God to remove, I don't want to use the word demons, but some habits that you just knew that weren't, healthy or fruitful in your life.
I do remember I first started journaling that senior year of baseball. So
Yeah.
because that was an emotional time. Then I continued sporadically into my time at Indy.
Yeah.
I was 6 months there, and then I journaled a little bit when I got to Dallas as well. But
Yeah.
I got the journaling idea from Eddie Ortiz. Thank you, Eddie. I think I would encourage journaling to anybody because I think it helps.
Yeah.
And journaling now for me is different. I speak it, but if you can totally write it down, I think it's better writing.
But like going back to your life before, Collins and I had just come to see you for her spring break. And we,
mid-March.
you live like in this really awesome place in Dallas, a village. You were just so happy. You're like, Mom, I get up, I go.
I had a
work.
great routine going.
Yeah. What was your routine?
So pretty easy. We worked early. We got the office at 7. I'd wake up, just get ready to go to work that day, grab a coffee on the way in, and work 7 to 4. I normally go to the gym 4:30 to 5:30, and after that it was my time. And I loved that kind of time by myself to cook, or I was always work out, cook something to eat, and then eat and chill. Normally play video games with my buddies. Or
You were getting into pickleball tournaments.
oh yeah, pickleball. Me and Hayden played a pickleball tournament.
Yeah.
It was an amateur tournament, and we scored 1 point in 5 games. So I was kind of, I don't know. There was a whole lot of stuff like just getting off the ground, pickleball career, pressure washing, and like finding who I wanted to be. So I also think about that sometimes, like maybe had that continued, I wouldn't have been what God wanted me to be. So this is, I don't know. It's all kinds of thoughts I have about why and when the accident happened. So
Yeah.
but
you were just, I mean, in my opinion, living like the best life a 24-year-old like could ever live.
Yeah.
Right? Just freeing, and your job was even fun. Like y'all did all the
I
outings
made
and
great
socials.
friends at my job. Yes.
Yeah.
Job was just kind of hard at times as far as it was super easy job. I mean, I can joke about now that I don't work there anymore, but I mean, I play hangman and like password at work like most of the day. And then I just spent a couple hours doing cold calls. But yeah, I'm very thankful for that job though too, because I made such great friends, especially Tyler and Courtney, and then the people I met in India as well.
I mean, but it was your first job. You've never had a job before. Like your job was just to play baseball. So I think I agree. It was a great first job, but you definitely knew there was something more for you.
Yeah. And once again, that was like just to hold me over, like that 6 months. Like I took that job to give me more time to figure out what I wanted to do.
This is I don't know if I've told you this, but while we were in ICU, I'll never forget. And there's so many conversations that you would have because you couldn't speak with us, so we had to write on the whiteboard. But there's one morning you woke up and you looked at the clock. Of course, we hated the clock because that's all you could see.
Yeah, it was like right.
Yes.
My head of the bed was right at the vision with the clock. Yeah.
But it was 8:00 and you said, I'm going to be late for work. Like it's what you wrote us. You needed to go. You go, I need to go to work.
Was I drugged up at that time in the morning already?
Honey, you were drugged up every day, all
yeah.
day long. Yeah. Yeah. And I just was like, wow, he has no clue.
Yeah. How deep into my state ICU was that? Like a week? 2 weeks?
I would say probably a couple of weeks. I mean,
okay.
the first couple of weeks you were just heavily sedated.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought that just showed who you were, right?
Yeah.
Like you were ready to get up and go.
Well, I hated being late to stuff. Yeah. So I'd like to explain why we're calling the podcast Keep Stacking, how I came about that term. Essentially, it started in my baseball career. We kind of like a team motto or like a saying that we'd say, keep stacking. Essentially, we just wanted to keep stacking good at-bats in order to score more runs. So a good at-bat, obviously, it doesn't have to be a hit or a homer. It could be a walk, seeing a lot of pitches in at-bat. So it was just kind of I deal with like you can have a good at bat in a lot of ways. You can, but it's up like within your control to have a good at bat. So keep stacking good at bats, and so we can score runs and win more games. Pretty much. That's what keep stacking meant before. I shared that with my mom in the ICU. I don't remember what it was after. She'll probably talk about it in a second, but it was after we were having a rough time, and it was late at night, and we were very emotional. We were both crying. Probably after a bronc or something. Anyway, my mom was feeling very sorry for me, and I was feeling pretty sorry for myself, but I knew like being sorry for myself in the past never worked or helped anything. So I told my mom, we could be sad right now, but we got to keep stacking the wins throughout our time in ICU and going forward. So a win that we could stack now might be me not getting a bronc that day, or me being able, whatever the small improvement was, we need to keep stacking that stuff and recognize the positive stuff so that we don't have to harp on the bad stuff as much. It just overall helps with the mental stability and where we're at, and because it was very easy to focus on the bad stuff, and especially in the ICU. So I shared it with mom in that moment. Whenever I told you that, Mom, what did it mean to you?
Yeah. You, well, I asked you what it meant. So the doctors, every day we had a 10 a.m. trauma meeting with the surgeons, or I did. I never missed a meeting. We had a 7 to 7 shift. And so we do like a biotransfer where I just made sure that I was there for because you had different trauma surgeons that were on 24-hour shifts. So when they would come in the next day, they might have a different suggestion for you, or a different order, a different way to take care of you. And a lot of times I'd leave those meetings feeling like defeated or going hopeful. Okay, well, this went well, but then this didn't. And so, and a lot of times it had to do with your lungs, your saturation levels, when do we put a trach in? Maybe how long do we keep the nasal, the being intubated nasally, all those things. And it was definitely, how do we keep you alive?
Yeah.
And so, but what the doctors told me over and over again, they said, you are going to have 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And I didn't believe them. And then I just finally, it was like, oh my gosh, they're totally right. But, whatever had happened that day, you said, Mom, we just have to keep stacking. And I said, oh, and it was late at night. We'd always like put on worship music or something.
And nights were always so difficult.
Yeah. Nights were really scary for you. Yeah. They were scary naturally so. I've never been in ICU that long, but they say it's just, it's the morning turns to night and the nights are long, and you didn't really know I would tell you what time of day it was, what day it was.
Even though the clock was right there, I'd ask.
Yeah. We put a pillow, your dad put a pillow over the clock, so you didn't have to see it anymore. Yeah, I think, and that's when a lot of hallucinations came for you.
Yeah.
A lot of scary stuff. So, and that's when you even felt like, like you didn't want to live anymore. You would ask us to let you die. So it was very scary times.
Tough one.
But you said
we just got to keep stacking.
Yeah, gotta keep stacking. And I was like, oh, that's such a great, that's great. Where'd you learn that? Oh, I learned it in baseball. And you said, you can stack at bats or stack good attitudes. Yeah. And then you just said, Mom, you can really stack anything. And when you said you can stack anything, I'm like, that does make sense. And so by this time we had an army full of people praying.
Yeah.
And we were on this big group meeting. My A-team friends started with just small group, like it flourished to a community of people that just love you and love our family. And I would share some conversations that you would have with me in that group. And then I guess, Tina then shared it with the group me group. And then somehow
Which had a couple hundred people in it.
Yeah, I think it has like 455 people in it now. Yeah. Which then led into Coach Barden chiming in and sharing what oh, keep stacking. This is, coach, explained all that from
Yeah.
baseball. And then it just like evolved to stack the prayers. Come on, Rilo,
Yeah.
keep stacking the good days, keep stacking, the progress. And we just like, that was just the thing everyone went with.
Yeah.
So, and it's really just been something that we've all adopted. Like it's just a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You can relate it in business. You can relate it in your sales calls, right? You can
Yeah.
relate it to whatever. It's not just injury, but yeah, that's what it means now, right?
Yeah.
And like life after the injury. That's and I think now going forward and what you're wanting to do with this show and how you can be a voice. I know you've expressed that to me. You were a singer.
Yeah.
And you've been fearful, kind of like maybe I can't sing anymore because your breath.
I can feel whenever I could really sing, singers know this, like breath support's the most important thing when you sing. So when I know my lungs can't fill up as much as they used to, I feel pretty handicapped, especially in singing. But yeah.
Well, I'm bringing that up because you had mentioned to me about like, you just wanted to use your voice. Like, how can I use my voice again? And you thought maybe it would be worshiping one day in church or something.
Right,
And
yes.
now, which it still can be.
Yeah.
I think you'll still be able to sing the way you want to sing. But anyway, that's kind of this door opened as far as like being a platform and sharing, really, it definitely stemmed from the injury, but I think the reality is there is a large community of 24-year-old young people.
Yeah. That were trying to figure out what I was trying to figure out before the injury.
Yeah. And
I still talk to my friends. We're all kind of in the same spot as far as what we do with our lives. So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. So that's what we're just saying, like the show in itself, how we can move forward with keep stacking and bringing on guests and friends and family and having them share their stories, right?
Yeah. I think what I want to do, the purpose going forward for the show is mainly for it to be inspirational, motivational, educational. The people I have on will be people that I respect or I know have been through something hard, or maybe they're just normal and I like them and I'm inspired by them. But I think, everybody who has seen success or has lived life has been through something hard. So I mainly want to talk to people, ask them how they've gotten through their hardships. And so we can all learn, and maybe you can take some from them. Maybe I take some from them. I think, that's what I want this show to be, is pretty much educational and inspirational, so that we can all get better together and keep stacking.
And keep stacking, because you basically educated me that we were stacking, and people they might not even realize that they stack every day.
Yeah.
And I feel like in that moment in ICU, out of all the people and all the moments, you were trying to encourage me as you laid there paralyzed and fighting for your life, to encourage me to keep stacking. And you're asking me to keep stacking my positivity.
Yeah.
And that was, and that's the same for anyone. So yeah.
And so pretty much everybody can keep stacking their own way.
Yeah.
The guests that I bring on, they've stacked because of their success or because of their how they've lived their life and how I think they're inspirational. So basically want this show to be way more less about me and way more about other people, so that we can all grow together and get better.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, Mom.
Let's
Your
go
first
home.
ever guest on Keep Stacking. Let's go home. I agree. Thank you guys for joining. Seriously. Love y'all. Keep stacking. Thank y'all for listening. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you have somebody that you think would be a good guest, or you'd be a good guest, or you have questions for me, just shoot me a DM. Once again, thank you guys. Y'all keep stacking. Peace.